to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Let's get right into it. So, one of the great what ifs of NBA history occurred during the off season of 2000. Okay, and it involves the Orlando Magic. Okay, so the Magic made a finals appearance in 1995. Got swept by the Rockets. Then got swept by the Bulls in 1996. And that caused Shaq to leave in free agency. And a few years later, Penny Hardaway was out the door too. Was traded to Phoenix before the 99-2000 season. So the Orlando Magic were kind of looking for the next big trio post Penny Shaq. Okay. And they nearly pulled it off. Okay. First they signed Tracy McGrady. They did that. Yes. And the second thing they did was they went out and they signed Grant Hill. And then they were on the verge of acquiring Tim Duncan as well. They were going to sign Tim Duncan as well. I don't know how many of you all remember that, but they were going to sign Tim Duncan as well. So they bought Tim Duncan in to talk to Orlando Magic management and coach Doc Rivers. And Grant Hill was in the meeting too. Okay? Grant Hill was in the meeting too. And so Tim Duncan liked to bring his wife along on road trips. Okay? And one of the things that he asked Doc Rivers was, do you allow players to bring their wives on road trips? Okay? And Doc Rivers said, no, we don't allow players to bring their wives or their girlfriends on business trips. And it was with that Tim Duncan said, nope, not signing. And he went back to San Antonio, where he won a couple of more championships with the Spurs. Okay. But looking back at that situation, they already had McGrady and Hill. The Orlando Magic did. But what if they were able to sign Tim Duncan, okay? What if they were able to sign Tim Duncan? If that trio of Hill, McGrady, and Duncan were in Orlando, they would have been a legit threat to the Lakers in the West, okay? They would have been a legit threat to the LA Lakers championship reign, okay? And so if they had pulled that off, the favorites in the West were going to be the Lakers, and the favorites in the East were going to be the Orlando Magic, okay? But I believe if they were able to pull that hat off, I think Duncan signing with the Orlando Magic, if that had happened, that would have softened the blow of Grant Hill getting injured, okay? Then Tracy McGrady wouldn't have to do it all on his own, okay? But Grant Hill got injured, missed a ton of time in his years in Orlando. But I think if they were able to sign Tim Duncan, that would have softened the blow. Losing Grant Hill. Because again, Tracy McGrady had to do it all by himself those years in Orlando. So They would have been a legit threat to the Lakers for the championship, and Tracy McGrady would not have to have done it alone by himself in Orlando. Okay, and if you look at the East at that time, leading up to the 2001 season, okay, if you look at the East and the West, the East first, um, go back and look at the Eastern Conference at that time. Who in the Eastern Conference would you say was a legitimate threat to the Lakers? Okay, just take a look at it. Just take a look at the East at that time. Who can you honestly say was a legit threat to the Lakers? Let's run down the list. Indiana Pacers, they were rebuilding. Indiana Pacers, they were old and they were in the process of a youth movement and rebuilding. Philadelphia 76ers, they were basically a 100-man team with Allen Iverson. Toronto was too young and not ready yet. The New York Knicks just lost Patrick Ewing. They were going through a rebuilding period. Who else? Who else? Who else? Let's see. The New Jersey Nets. They've been terrible forever. And the Miami Heat, they were aging. Charlotte Hornets. They were a good hit team, but they were far from ready. Yeah, so if you look at the Eastern Conference at that time, there was nobody in the East who posed a legit threat to the Lakers. Nobody who posed a legit threat to the Lakers out in the West. And even out in the West, who were the Lakers' primary challengers? Some would argue Sacramento. Some would argue Portland before they imploded. So technically, there was no real challenger to the Lakers. No real challenger to the Lakers. Okay. Sacramento, Portland. I would say Sacramento was the closest. And Portland, for a short time, for a very short time, they were a legit threat to the Lakers. But we all saw what happened in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Okay, we all saw what happened there. So yeah. But there were really no teams in the NBA at that time who could really challenge the Lakers. Okay, and if Orlando was able to pull off signing Hill, McGrady, and Duncan, the Orlando Magic would have been the favorites in the East. They would have been the favorites in the East. They probably were the favorites in the East, just off signing Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill. But Grant Hill got injured, and Duncan didn't sign with Orlando. And Lakers go on to win 2 more titles. Yeah, things could have been a lot more different. History would have been different. Could have been different, okay, if they were able to pull it off of McGrady, Hill, and Duncan, okay. They probably would have won a couple of titles too. They probably would have won a couple of titles too. I would say one. They probably would have won a title or two. Orlando would have, but we'll never know. We'll never know. We will never know because all because the Doc Rivers said no. You're not allowed to bring your wife on business trips. And that's pretty much it. Um, One of the great what ifs. We will never know. We will never know that. Never know the answer to that. All right, that's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. Peace out. May God bless you all.